Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Career Evangelist Podcast. Today, we have another amazing guest. She spent over 2 decades inside the C-suite and operational trenches of Fortune 100 companies, turning chaos into clarity and team into high performance. She is a VP turned speaker, author, and belief-driven leadership coach who is here to show you how to lead with conviction, execute with precision, and win when the pressure is at its peak. Welcome to the Career Evangelist Podcast, Jennifer. We are glad to.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bola.
All right, it's good to have you join us today. So, where about are you joining us from, Jennifer?
Yeah, I live in New Jersey.
New Jersey. That's awesome. So, you've led teams through some of the most turbulent business moments in recent history. What would you say it's one belief that has kept you grounded when everything else around was somewhat on fire?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, and I would tell you years ago, I didn't have this belief as well as I do now, but I truly believe things are always working out, right? Things are happening for you, not to you, even when things are challenging. I would even call out we are at a new turbulent time for a lot of reasons, right? When you think about how AI has moved into the business in a different way, when you think about what's going on in the world right now, right? And so I'm a big believer in your mindset really has a lot to do with how your day goes, how your life goes, what happens next for you. And so I really try to lead with that mindset with my teams that there's nothing we can't figure out, right? There's nothing that we can't solve in some way, shape, or form. And there's always options to consider.
I love the way you put it. Things always work out. And I have the same mindset. I tell people that everything is figure outable.
There
Uh,
you go.
to borrow that word. So tell us, how did your journey from operations to executive leadership shape the way you define success today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I spent over 20 years. I'm a CPA by background, so I'm an accountant by trade. Spent 4 years in public accounting and then did a couple startups and eventually got my way to MetLife. I never thought I'd be at MetLife for almost a 2 decade career. I thought it was probably a 1 to 2 year stint. Bola, and little did I know that I'd have like 9 lives over that amazing career journey of all different shapes and sizes, all different functions, all different business lines, right? And I would tell you that when I left MetLife in the fall of 2021, I still really believed that my identity was tied to what I did for a living. And so if you asked me who was Jennifer Doty back in those days, I would lead with my job title. It's the first thing I would have told you. I
Yeah.
was really proud of it, and I really felt tied to the accomplishments that I had had through that journey. And so when I left MetLife, I did a lot of soul searching, and I spent a lot of time really listening to my gut and really thinking about what was going to be right for me as I thought about the next phase of my career. And as part of that, I got really clear on a couple of things, like what were my must-haves, my non-negotiables, what were my nice to haves, and what were my icings on the cake as I thought about that. And a lot of it had to do with how I wanted to feel and how I intended to feel in that next job. So you can imagine me going to a recruiter and saying, I figured out what I want to do. It's how I want to feel. And they're like, we don't know what to do with you. Like, that is not a thing
Yeah.
to hire for. And I'm like, well, it's going to be for me. And so I knew what I did is I made that list. And as part of that list, I would go to different interviews and I'd assess after I got off the phone with you, as an example, how did I feel? Did I hit the marks on the must haves and the nice to haves, or was it like none of this is checking the box? And it was very clear early on in a lot of these conversations where it was a match and where it wasn't. And that is how I got to Three Flow because I promised myself that what I really wanted was to do great work with great people. And that is what I found when I came here. And all of the conversations like reflected back to me so many of the ways that I wanted to feel in this job. And then some of the things that, if when you think about like some of the logistics, yes, the compensation's important, but my lifestyle was also important as well, right? I had schlepped to Manhattan and to an office for decades of my life. And I was like, I'm good. I've done that for a very long time. I'm happy to get on a plane and come see you and, meet with the team and strategize around what we have to do periodically. But on a day-to-day basis, I was good. I was good with that. So like those are also the types of things you can consider, but that really worked well for me, that process.
So Jennifer, I like the way you actually put it. And I think most people battle with this. They assess their life based on their job title or the job they do. You said it's about how you feel. I know it's difficult to actually quantify that, but I think you actually hit it on the head when you say you want to do great work with great people, and I think that will drive the feeling here. So, for people out there that are still battling with what they want in their life, whether it's this feeling or maybe making money in their job, or maybe clinging on to jobs that they don't so much like, what do you say to them in terms of how to get that feel and come alive, working, doing great work with great people?
Yeah. So as part of the process that I went through, once I put all together, what are the things I wanted? Then you need to start operating like you're already there. And that's hard for people, right? So if you want a new role because you want more compensation or more responsibility, or you just know where you are is not a great fit for whatever the reason is, you actually need to start living like it's already happened, right? And so that takes a lot of practice. And so it's things like envisioning that, closing your eyes and just dreaming for a couple of minutes about what that looks and feels like, right? Leveraging where you are in your day job to act like you're already there in whatever future you're in, right? So, like, really be appreciative and grateful because when you're grateful for a lot of things, and I write gratitudes every night of my life, right? I write, 3 wins of the day, 3 gratitudes, and 3 goals for tomorrow. But I know when I close my eyes and I've reflected on those gratitudes, more good things come my way, right? And so, how can you spin whatever situation you're in right now and find 3 things that you are grateful for, right? Are you learning something new? Is it giving you time to do other things? Are you able to spend more time with your children, right? Are you with great colleagues that you know you'll leverage these relationships in the future? But like, how is what you're doing right now serving you? Being grateful for that, and then acting as if you're already in that next thing.
I like it. So you describe your approach as belief-driven leadership. What does that actually mean in practice, Jennifer?
So it means practicing what I preach, right? And so I work at a technology startup today. We're 130 people. It's a platform for group benefits brokers and carriers to better exchange data for quoting and rating. Company's called 3Flow. His name is 3Flow. I run the operations team, right? And so the best part of operations is you always have a day job because there's always something you got to fix, Bola, right? Like there's always something that didn't go right or you haven't figured out or there's a problem, right? And so belief-driven leadership is really helping your team create a mindset that like we can solve this. We can figure this out. We can dream bigger. We can solve what's in front of us, right? And instilling those beliefs and like I find the more I role model it, the more people around me will say my words back to me, which really makes me giggle when somebody on my team is like, I know it's all working out and you told me it's going to be fine, right? And so but it does take practice, right? And so I'm always open and have space for we can have a couple minutes to complain. Absolutely, let's complain, let's vent, like just get it out. Tell me what's wrong, right? And then I'm going to quickly pivot you to how might we see this as an opportunity? How might we see this, something went left that should have gone right as a way that we can slow down and do something differently, right? Like how is it serving us, right? And usually there's something we can find. And within that, that helps change people's belief for the next time something comes up, right?
So I like your energy. I like your passion. I like the your positivity, I'll say. But I know that life is not always going to be a bed of roses. There'll be some challenging days. And you rightly said that you tell your team it's going to work. But how do you motivate yourself on those difficult days? What do you say to yourself?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those. Some of the things I do, I'll go for a walk if you can get outside, there's a lot of science that talks about like if you can just move your body for 20 minutes, it does wonders for you. I will meditate for a couple minutes. I will phone a friend for a couple of minutes. I will walk away, like literally get up and walk away from my computer and go read for 15 minutes. Like changing my environment, changing the scenario is often helpful. Writing down 5 things that went really well today because something went well today, right? But I do any and all of those things because there's plenty of days where I'm like, this just didn't feel great for whatever that reason was, right? And I always remember tomorrow's another day, right? Tomorrow's another day. And the question is can you have more good days than not, right? And a lot of that, Bola, starts with like the thoughts you are thinking between these two ears. And the funny thing is your brain doesn't know the difference if it's real or if it's not,
Mhm.
which is part of the struggle we have.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking things that are negative and are going to make you miserable, your brain doesn't know any different. It believes it to be true.
Yeah.
But if you flip that and start thinking about good things and possibilities and how things are working out, it doesn't know any better either. And so it believes that to be true. So I try in my darkest moments, because there's plenty of them. The other key for me is I call it like the death spiral, like a toilet bowl, right? I suffered from anxiety for years. And then I found a lot of this work, which is really helps me every single day, right? But the goal is, can you catch it? Can you catch it as it's happening in the moment? So before you get halfway down the toilet bowl and the whole day is shot and you're like, this is miserable. I shouldn't have woken up today. Can you catch whatever that first thing that happened that's like causing you to go off quickly and reframe it?
So good. So Jennifer, tell us about your business. I know you have a business that you are running. Let's know what you do.
Yes, thank you. So, as part of my portfolio career that I'm building, I have a couple things going on. So, I do have my day job, which I love, but I'm also building a business on the side of my desk that I started a little over a year ago. The company's name is Live Pure. It is nutrition and supplementation. It is about the methodology of cleansing, balancing, and building your body from the inside out. And so, it's really all about your gut health. And the fascinating part of this is I've consumed the products for 8 years. My girlfriend from high school introduced them to me when I was newly divorced. I was a hot mess inside and out. I like made it look good every day, but I wasn't sleeping well. I needed a nap every day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And my stomach was always upset and I had really high anxiety. And so within 2 weeks of starting on this routine of supplements, dramatic change in my health. And so it has been amazing what is possible. But what's really incredible is little did I know so many people are trying to solve for the health of themselves or a loved one, or they are also interested in creating a second income stream for themselves and their family that is willable, transferable. And it's just smart in this day and age to have more than one income coming in. And so, as the mom of 2 college students who are, they're not cheap any day of the week, it really helps me. And I earned like high 5 figures last year. I paid my monthly mortgage payment the very first month I started with this business. And it's really taking off. And so in addition to that, I'm doing speaking engagements and podcasts. I've written 2 leadership books along the way because what I find is I've had a lot of experience and I feel like if I can share just a little bit of my journey with somebody out there, if I could tell the 30-year-old me some of the things I wish I knew back then, or even the 40-year-old me, right? It might just help people navigate, wherever they are a little bit easier.
You are a busy woman, I must say. So, you talked about portfolio career, and I know there are many people out there. Yes, they have their day job, but they are looking to create this second income stream. How do you tell them to start? How can they figure that out in terms of where to start from?
Yeah, I believe so in what I've seen and what I've witnessed. And again, I'm a business person by background, right? So for me, it really boils down to three things, right? First, you got to find something you're really passionate about. Your why and your story has to be larger than life. You have to be passionate about the product, the service, whatever it is you're starting. And then secondly, it's really about the people that you work with. That might be leadership at another company that you're part of. That might be a partner that you work with, right? But who those people are and how they lead is really, really important. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to work with some amazing top leaders who advocate and support me while I do my day job, right? That helps make this easy for me, which is incredible. And then last, it's about training and process, right? Because if you don't have the support system set up, the way to help other people duplicate this business, they kind of like fall through the cracks, right? And so we have a tremendous training and duplication system because if it wasn't easy, Bola, I wouldn't be doing this, right? And so 99.9% of the people you speak to, they already have a job. And none of us are looking for another job, right? You want to do something in addition to what you already have in a lot of ways, right? And so those are the three things that people should really look for, things to look for to make them successful in whatever they choose to do.
That's so good. So now let's talk about managing change because we know that the pace of change in this technology-driven world is astronomical. So, what's the biggest mistake that leaders make when driving organization change, and what should they do instead, in your opinion, Jennifer?
Yeah, so I've driven several transformations of all shapes and sizes
Yeah.
between my work at MetLife and even my work at 3Flow, right? And so the very first thing that I think is really critical is getting buy-in from your leadership team, right? They don't have to love what you're doing, but they have to understand the why, right? And then the goal in all change management, and I've spent years helping organizations understand there's more when you get the planning right, the execution goes that much better, right? And so, as part of that planning, you need to do the work to say, okay, I've gotten my team, my leadership team, all in agreement on what we're doing and why. And then you've got to step back and figure out how do you get an organization of people where you already are, right? And so you have to remember that the team out there and the associates, they haven't had the backstory on this. They weren't making the sausage with you. They don't know anything about what you're talking about. And so, how do you get an organization of people, get them through all the stages along the way? Have you ever seen the change curve? Have you heard of the change curve and change management? Right? You start up here and you're excited, and then you go to the valley of death. The
Yeah.
valley of death very soon, right? And the key is, can you get out of the valley of death and get into the mindset of being hopeful and seeing the opportunity that goes with that? But you've got to allow people to go through all those stages of change, right? And give people grace to do that and spend the time to do that. And I think sometimes organizations just kind of rip the band-aid and go, here we go. This is what we're doing. Everybody get behind it without giving the people, to some extent, the time to get there on their own and help them process the change,
So let's
good
talk.
or bad.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. So let's talk about career strategy. Maybe for mid-career professionals that will be listening to us, that want to move from manager to executive roles. What are I'll call it one or two things that they need to stop doing immediately so they can clear their path to the executive leadership position?
I think getting really clear and comfortable on what you know and don't know, and be comfortable being vulnerable as a leader. I think in the eras that I grew up in, a vulnerable leader was not somebody that most people subscribed to, right? They wanted somebody who was confident and knew everything and can make decisions, right? But what I have found in leading teams of people, the best way to motivate people and to get them to all row in the same direction or run in the same direction or to do something they don't want to do is if you can be vulnerable as a leader and just be open, right? And so I do that all the time, almost every day. And I just will say the things that either I know they're thinking and they don't want to say, or the things that I'm thinking and I'm like, I'm just going to say it. I know you all hate being in this meeting, and why is that? What can I do to make it better? I mean, say the things that, if you got a room or a Zoom of people and they're not talking, there's a reason they're not talking. They don't trust you. They're not buying what you're selling. Like they're uncomfortable. There's something going on. But can you say the hard thing? And so I think that those two things, can you be vulnerable? And can you put words to the hard thing because they will respect you
Mm.
that much more for being open and honest?
Thank you for sharing that. So, as we are wrapping it, if a listener could implement just one thing from our conversation today, what would you want it to be?
I really believe it's changing that mindset. And can you start with yourself? And can you infuse a little bit more positivity, right? I had somebody at one of my roles who said one of the biggest criticisms was that I was too happy all the time. Right? I mean, it happens, right? Like you got to give people space, right? To like work through, challenging situations. But can you be positive? Can you find something to be positive about? And can you share that? Because it is infectious. When you show up with good energy, other people do too. And
Good.
so I think it all starts with ourselves as a leader.
Don't keep being happy, I'll say. Don't stop. So
Yeah.
let's go to our final section, which is our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So, Jennifer, what's the best leadership book that you've read in recent time?
I have it right here. It's my favorite. It is John Maxwell, the
Oh,
Maxwell Daily Reader. It's on the side of my desk.
yeah, I
I
love.
love it because there's a page for every day of the year.
Okay, I love that. So, one word to describe your leadership style.
I would say inviting.
Writing. That's good. Best career myth that you want to bust right now.
That you can't have more than one job at one time.
Okay. Mentor, sponsor, or coach. Which one changed your career the most?
Sponsor.
Sponsor. That's right. So the career advice you hear constantly that you completely disagree with.
That one person's advice is the answer, right? So I think sometimes as leaders we tend to get advice from people, and I don't think one person's advice is the holy grail. I think you have to take a lot of advice, put it together, and then decide what fits best for you.
Absolutely. So finally, what's one non-negotiable habit that keep you at your best?
Exercise every day.
Exercise. I love that. I've not gotten one today because I started my day very early. So hopefully I'll get that later in the evening. Thank you very
You'll
much.
get it in later. Yes.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for coming on the show. I enjoyed this conversation with you, and I know our listeners will find it highly beneficial. So before we let you go, is there any other message that you want to share with the Career Evangelist pod community today?
Well, if people want to contact me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Jennifer Doty, or you can find me at jenniferdoty.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Nice having you.
Thank you, Bola.
All right.
Appreciate it.